Good evening. Palestine Expo and beyond. We've come to the end of the road, isn't it? What do we ask of ourselves? What do we demand of each and one of us that has been part of this extraordinary weekend? We have to first and foremost put a round of applause for Friends of Al-Aqsa for putting this together. Also give a round of applause for the Palestine Expo, the volunteers in particular that have made this a reality. If you don't know the volunteers, it's the black shirts that have been looking after us for the entire weekend and making sure that they are pulling one of the best Palestinian experiences I've ever witnessed. But what do these gatherings demand of us? Why do we travel great lengths of distance all the way from South Africa, Gideon Levy, all the way from Israel, to come in here and engage on what my grandfather coined as, I quote, the greatest moral issue of our time, close quote, yet the world remains silent on the matter. We are called today, as we come to the end of the road, when we go back to our homes, to begin activism right in our homes, right in our streets, in our very communities that we live in. Be the voice for a free Palestine. Ensure that in your very own home, that spirit translates from the grandparents to the parents to the grandchildren, so that the baton from one generation to the next is continuously handed, and we continue speaking on this issue. I will return and head back to South Africa. And I must say that Gideon, in the post-apartheid era, since 1994, the biggest protest and marches you've witnessed in South Africa that draw crowds of about 100,000, 120,000 have been on Palestine. And when we march as proud citizens of South Africa, cognizant with our past, where we're from, and very grounded in the present. And we march as Africans, Indians, coloreds, whites, across racial backgrounds, but also across religious backgrounds. Muslims, Jews, Christians join hands in the fight for a free Palestine. We want to call on you in your very remote communities, in your urban centers, wherever you may be, become a voice for the Palestinian struggle. Ensure that as active citizens in your countries, you fly the Palestinian flag high. You know, I used to come here to London in the mid-80s, late 80s, while my mother stayed here. And my mother spent about 8 years, 9 years here in the UK, and she was an activist for the anti-apartheid struggle. She went to every shop protesting against any South African product that was brought, protesting against any sports team that came to from South Africa to participate. She ensured that the British citizenry stood firm on our side in fighting against an oppressive and brutal regime. And we want to make that call. Wherever you may be, you have 6 million Palestinians that are in exile, spread across the world. We were fewer than that as South Africans. But every South African that was living in exile was a voice for our struggle for liberation, became an active ambassador for our struggle for liberation. We want to call on to you. Don't just become proud into the current status quo. I'm now in Britain, I'm now holding a British passport, I'm in America, I'm now holding an American passport. Know where you're from, know who you are, and know the story of your people. You have to become the voice of change. You have to ensure that you mobilize wherever you are in the world. You continue to be an activist, even if you're not living in occupied Palestine. You have to ensure that you continue to mobilize support, you continue to fight the cause. As South Africans, we faced an oppressive military regime, one of the best the continent has ever seen. It was impossible for us to fight and win. But we continued and mobilized South Africans across non-racial and non-sexist lines. And in doing so, we were able to showcase the brutality meted out on South Africans on a daily basis. And that got the attention of the world. And I want to call on the Palestinians living under the most brutal regimes that we have experienced. You know, Gideon, we always make this mistake of trying to compare apartheid South Africa and apartheid Israel. I'm one of those people that went to the West Bank. And what I saw there was the worst form of apartheid I've ever witnessed. And every one of my predecessors, like Ronnie Kasrils, Desmond Tutu, have uttered the same sentiments. And we continue to ensure that we speak out against such injustice, such violation of human rights, because we do believe that one day we will realize a free Palestine. But I urge all of you to ensure that we set aside partisan lines and we unite as Palestinians and fight a just cause. Because once we unite against a common enemy, we have the strength in numbers to ensure we can realize freedom in our lifetime. But for those of us that seem to have been distanced from any issues in Palestine today, let us ensure that we grab their attention, we build capacity, and we ensure we educate so that every part of the world can know and understand the atrocities that are being meted out on a daily basis against the defenseless children and women in particular in Palestine. But I want to make a call, Ismail, that you know, as South Africa, we live in the SADC region. And this issue often becomes silent in our neighboring countries. And I hope that as well here in Britain, you don't become comfortable that you have an active society that is championing the just struggle of the Palestinian people, but you ensure that you lobby the entire European countries that are surrounding the United Kingdom, so that we too in South Africa can become active in mobilizing not only South Africans, but the SADC region and the entire African continent. I was particularly today interested to rush in and listen to the parliamentarians that were supposed to present today. And when I leaned in more carefully to understand who was here, which parliamentarian came to participate, I came to learn that none of my colleagues showed up to participate in this. You have to make sure, like we've done, to take this debate into the South African Parliament, into the SADC Parliamentary Forum, into the Pan-African Parliament. You have to ensure that you bring it into Westminster. You have to make sure that you bring it to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, to the International Parliamentary Union. You have to ensure that you engage with all parliaments around the world to really support for the Palestinian cause. But South Africa is in a strong position today. We are part of the BRICS countries. And knowing where we're from and the painful past that we have experienced, you have to, as Palestinians, be able to utilize South Africa as a partner, as a brother and a comrade in arms, to ensure they become a voice for the Palestinian struggle in the BRICS countries. We often wonder as to how we sit in the BRICS countries, and then you have another BRICS country like India that trades with Israel, particularly in arms. South Africa has to call for an arms embargo in the BRICS countries. But South Africa will also be sitting as the chair of the African Union. Today we are witnessing the Zionist lobby becoming very strong in Africa. They are beginning to make grounds on countries that we know to be traditionally strong supporters of any struggle for liberation of the oppressed people. Yet today they are beginning to have a listening ear for Israel because a carrot is being dangled in front of them in terms of desalination systems and water solutions, which Africa yearns for. We have to ensure that we are active in the African continent and we are able to convince African countries to look just further behind. Colonialism, our own struggle for liberation, makes us to be very clear about what oppressive regimes we've had to overcome. And only because we know that painful past makes us automatically supporters of the Palestinian cause. And lastly, as I conclude, South Africa sits today in the UN Security Council. And you have to ensure that you lobby South Africans to be the voice of the oppressed nations around the world. South Africa has to ensure that the Palestinian issue is paramount in the UN Security Council. And now that today, our 2 days has come to an end, we are at an end of the road, the reality is that there is a lot more ahead of us. We need to reach out to one another, make sure that we continue the work that was so adequately expressed by various speakers that we've had here. And we carry the message throughout the world. And these tools today have made it very easy for us to connect. I have sent many messages back to South Africa that had found themselves around the world to people saying Nelson Mandela's grandson was there. But please ensure that it doesn't only have to end there, that Nelson Mandela's grandson was there. Because my grandfather would have said, when we conclude this session, sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that generation. I thank you.